Have you ever seen a sewing pattern and wished it was a knitting pattern? Me too. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Domino and I like making things from scratch and doing things myself. Today, I am going to be knitting a shirt using only a sewing pattern and turning that into a knitting pattern. So, keep on watching. Here's the pattern I'm going to be using. I'm going for the white shirt, so I wanted to find a yarn that was breathable because it's a short sleeve shirt. I found this bamboo yarn that is also a little bit shiny, which I really like, so I decided to go with that one, and I bought 3 balls of yarn. The recommended needle size for the yarn was a 4mm needle, so I used that as kind of a guide for starting my swatches. I originally was planning on doing 3 swatches. So here is how the swatch came out with a 4mm needle, and I just thought it was a little bit too loose, so I decided to readjust my swatch plans and ditch the 4.5mm needle. Also, we have a friend joining us. But anyway, here are the 3 swatches I made and the needle sizes that I used to achieve each of the swatches. And we're going with the 3.25mm needles. So without further ado, it's time to get the pattern out, and there's 2 patterns that come in this packet, so we have to differentiate between the 2 shirts. I've also never used a sewing pattern. I really don't know how to sew very well, so this is all a new experience for me. It comes with a set of instructions which tells you the amount of each of the panels that you need to make. It also came with these 2 big sheets of really thin paper. So the first step on the set of instructions is to cut out the different pieces. Here is me doing that. What a great camera angle. I'm just such a natural at this. I think you guys get the idea. But this actually took shockingly long amount of time, and I think mostly it was because I wanted to make sure that not only was I cutting it out without tearing the paper, which was very delicate, but I also wanted to make sure I was actually cutting on the right lines because there was also some fold lines, which we'll discover later in the video. There ended up being 7 panels for the shirt. Some of them were for interfacing, which I didn't even know what that meant. So there were a couple more than I ended up using, but that's okay. So I decided might as well just go in order of the panels. So we're starting with panel number 1, which is actually the front panel. See, I told you guys the paper is very light. Anyway, I am just going to jump right into taking some measurements and trying to turn that into a knitting pattern with the gauge that we just obtained. This process also took quite a long time, but this is what I ended up with. Now, in order to be able to translate this into knitting language, we need to find the gauge and then do some math to figure out how we can make all of the increases and decreases and lengths and everything into the panel. Gauge is important, guys. Never forget to make a gauge swatch. I still remember the no gauge swatch crisis of 93. I'm just kidding, I wasn't even alive in 93, but it's important. Now that we have that, we can finally get started on writing the pattern itself. Lo and behold, we run into our first problem. I only have a 2.75mm needle, so that's what we're gonna use. What I decided to do, which honestly is probably a bad idea to do, but worked out for me this time, I don't recommend doing it, but I ended up using my original gauge swatch for the smaller needle size because the smallest size of the shirt came in for the pattern was a size 12, which is gonna be too big for me. I used the original cast on size with the larger gauge swatch, and then once I knit enough, I took a gauge swatch mid-project of the needles that I was using, which I then used for the increases and decreases. Anyway, I didn't get very far, but my mom got me these eye patches for Christmas, so let's continue. Don't forget to hydrate. That first row always takes the longest. Also, side note, I just finished reading Les Mis, which is amazing, so I decided to watch the movie. I'll tell you my thoughts after. I have to increase on the side and then very shortly after, while simultaneously increasing on this side, keep track of increases on the other side, which will be at a different interval. This is honestly way more complicated than I thought. I don't know why I picked out this pattern, but it's too late now. Well, I guess it's really not, but anyway. I decided to go for a border, garter stitch border on the inside so that it doesn't curl up, and also it kind of mimics the pattern a little bit. This is where we're at so far. Start classes tomorrow. Really not looking forward to that. The movie is not at all a good representation of the book. In the director's defense, the book is like 1,500 pages. But it genuinely did skip over like the majority of the book. I'm like halfway through right now. There's so much that isn't said. I guess this is kind of the experience with books and movies, but like the book, seriously one of my favorite books. It made me cry. Also, why do they have to sing every line? Like, okay, I get if it's a musical and they're gonna sing some songs, but why are they like singing to each other? That's weird. I don't like it. I love the book though. I just got home from my first day of classes. I worked on this a little bit last night and a little bit after I got home. And I just want to make sure that this is looking like it's following the right pattern. So I'm going to just put it against the pattern piece and we will see if I have to take this apart or if we can keep going. So it's kind of hard to see because it's flipped over, but this is the smallest line is the one we're following, and then I also took some off for seam allowance. So we actually are looking like we're on the right track here. This is going to be the non-buttonhole side. So I have done quite a lot of work on the first front panel. I am not quite satisfied with the taper at the end to the point. First of all, I feel like it tapers in too quickly. Second of all, it's just curling a little bit. This is actually the third time that I will be redoing the decreases. One of the things about writing this pattern that has been hard is that the decreases are not even across both sides. So you have to keep track of two different intervals of decreases. So what I think I'm going to do instead is actually just use, I'm going to use a modified version and I'm going to do it just the same on both sides. So it's just going to be more of a even peak rather than this one, which one side is supposed to come in a little bit faster. Yeah, I'm just going to modify it so that it is a little bit easier to keep track of and it will probably sit a little bit better. So that's what I'm going to do now. Don't worry, I'm not wearing these because I'm hungover or trying to look cool or something. I got these new Meta glasses for Christmas because I wanted to be able to record things from really like my line of sight. But what I discovered when I'm using these is that I have to hold my head at a very difficult angle while I'm trying to knit in order for it to be in the frame of view. So I just wanted to demonstrate that for you guys so you can understand what I went through to get this footage for you. And the funniest part of all this is that most of it wasn't even in the frame, so I couldn't even really use the footage, but I tried. I'm still learning. Anyway, I rewrote the rest of the pattern for the front panels and it was a lot easier, as you can see here, than the original one. Ran out of yarn. Evidently this is going to be a slower taper, which is good. So I'm going to go get some more and we're going to continue doing some minor edits because I think that it needs to decrease a little bit faster. So back to the drawing board. Wish me luck. Luckily, the decreases worked out this time. I did my best. I honestly think it'll look better this way than it would have if I was following the exact measurements anyway. So here it is. It is still a little bit curly, so I'm going to block it and hopefully that'll give us a better idea of what the shape actually looks like. I was a little concerned because this yarn kind of contracts and becomes a little bit stiff when it's wet, but luckily I just kind of stretched it and blocked it and it was still as soft as it was when it was dry. Here it is compared to the pattern piece, and finally we have our first finished panel. Now that that is done, I am going to use my new yarn winder, which I finally have, to wind up the rest of the mess of the ball of yarn that I have, and I'm also going to get started on the second panel, so let's dive right into that. Evidently, I was trying to say something here, but my microphone was not anywhere near me. Luckily, I figured it out eventually. Hopefully this doesn't get too tangled. Such insight. I discovered very shortly after this that this kind of yarn shape does not actually help slipper yarn. In fact, it makes it worse. Anyway, I did most of the second panel without recording much of it because I figured you guys already saw enough of the process with the first one. I basically just changed the pattern to make it the mirror image of the first one. It actually took a lot less time because I didn't have to reevaluate things and write the pattern as I was going and measure and all of that. So yeah, and we're done. Time for the next panel. Not shown in this video is me freaking out because I couldn't figure out how the pieces go together. But it's shown in this video. I kind of gave up on trying to understand how they go together and just kind of resigned to making two mirror images of the pattern pieces. So here's my problem. I need to bind off stitches from one side, but I also want there to be a border like going along the decreases slanted, and I really don't know how to do that. I've been like drawing pictures and like trying to figure it out, but I don't think I've ever seen that in any pattern, so I don't know what to do. After much deliberation, there will not be a garter stitch border on the edge because it's hurting my brain. And also, I looked at the other panels and I think it might actually look kind of funny to have it on that as well. So we're just going to do stockinette and hope for the best. This is not going well. Well, I think I'm done. So this is what it looks like before blocking. Unfortunately, I somehow miscalculated the bottom and kind of made it the mirror image of what it should be. I started the decreases on the wrong side, which is fine. It's not going to take that much longer to fix, but I do have to wait for that to dry now. So for now, I'm going to start at the top of the second panel, but mirror it. And then I just won't do the decreases yet, or I'll fix it. I have been working on the second panel and I've been watching Wife Swap, which I've never seen before but is quite interesting, and some of the episodes are honestly unintentionally and unironically hilarious. Here is one of my successful videos from my glasses. At this point the panel has dried, so I'm just unpinning it and I'm going to fix it. Now for the next panel it says to only make one, but if you actually look at the schematic for what the shirt panels are supposed to look like, it looks like this is actually only half of what the entire panel should be. So I am imagining that I must have accidentally cut along a fold line or something. This panel is particularly challenging because it has two pieces at the top that have to join together into the full piece. We're also on our last ball of yarn. This is when I just realized I'm gonna have to make the mirror image of the center panel, and I have my first quiz tomorrow. So anyway, well, I had my first quiz in linear algebra, not linear algebra, I took that 2 years ago. I had my first quiz in abstract algebra. I went to all my classes, I cleaned my whole apartment, I did my groceries. Now I am going to very briefly work on this project because I have homework to do. I am at the point where I am joining the two pieces together. Wow, I literally just recorded that and then I doom scrolled for about 20 minutes. I did 3 rows. This is the next day, if you couldn't tell. I can't really move at the moment, but I do have a story for you guys while I work on this. I needed to have a debrief with my friends, so we went to happy hour. It has been so cold for the last couple of days. So I really wanted to finish this pair of mittens that I've been working on. So later that night, my friends and I went to happy hour, and I really wanted to finish those mittens. I was still very determined because it was only going to get colder. So I brought all of my knitting stuff and my mittens to the bar, and I did in fact finish the mittens, which was great. So I wore them, and I remember putting them in the car. So I had the mittens when I left, and they were in the car safely, so I knew they were there. But I ended up going over to my friend's house, and I had come home and I left them in the car, and because I had like carried a bunch of stuff in. So this morning, if I go outside, first of all, it's even colder this morning. I had just taken a shower. It's 2 degrees. It was -1 degree when I woke up, but by the time I went outside, it had warmed up. It was 2 degrees by then. So my hair in the 3 minutes that I was outside froze, and I was looking for one of my mittens. I could only find the right one, and I was like so confused because I knew I had them when I got in the car. And the only place that I would have lost them was when I was getting out of the car to go into my friend's house. So even though it had snowed quite a lot and my car is not the best in the snow, I decided at 9 in the morning in the 2 degree weather to go drive over to where I had parked and see if my mitten was there. And luckily it was. But someone ran over my mitten, my hand knit mitten, and I had to like peel it off the ground because it was like frozen to the ground, and it was like in the snow, and there was like dirt on it, and it really didn't look good. But I brought it home and I soaked it in some Woolite twice. I gave it a very nice bath. I blocked it, and luckily it seems okay. It's like a little bit flat, but they look pretty good, and there was no staining, so that was really good. Anyway, that is my mitten horror story. I'm gonna continue on with this and hopefully make some real progress. I started watching the show Bewitched, which really gave me more of an insight into what life and gender roles and marriages and ideals looks like in the 60s. It's just such a typical story that there would be a man trying to dull a woman's sparkle and take her powers away rather than like embracing them. That's what the whole show is about. The whole show is basically about a witch who has powers and like the ability to do all of these like amazing things, and her stupid little husband on the side being like, I don't want you to use witchcraft. I want you to clean the house all on your own. I don't want you to be able to use your powers and do all of these fun things. So he has to bring her down to his level. And that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. It's very telling though. I do recommend the show. It's very entertaining. But the husband really does irritate me. I finally finished. You can't really tell what they look like before they're blocked. Luckily, that looks pretty good. So, I'm just gonna get started on the second panel. Do you agree? I have really barely done anything since the last time I spoke to you guys. I have gotten this far. I am going to be doing that and watching PBS NewsHour, which has been terrifying lately. I got it done, you guys. I got it done. So as you have just seen, I have finished the mirror image of the back panel, which I think was supposed to all be one piece, but I didn't get the memo before I started that, so it'll be fine. I'm just gonna sew it together. The next thing I'm going to do is figure out the measurements for this fourth piece. That'll be the side back pieces, I think, that connect the panel that we just made to the front and side panels. And then we will finally be onto the sleeves, and I am absolutely not doing interfacing, which I had to look up because I don't know how to sew, but it is basically like for structure, or like it's internal, so you don't even see it, so we're not doing it. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on this. And really regret the decision that I made to use the yarn that I did. I will say it's not really the yarn's fault. The yarn is really nice and I actually do like it a lot. It just took forever to knit. In case you guys are curious, my process here is basically to just make a bunch of triangles to estimate the curvature of each of the sides, and then translate that into increases and decreases. Gotta love triangles. Isn't that so kind of my cat to be so helpful? How am I doing today, you ask? I have been trying to deal with the crushing weight of impending doom coming at me from all sides. I've been looking at jobs again because I'm about to graduate. You know what? I think you guys should do? I think you guys should all like this video and my other videos so I could do this full time after I graduate. That would be literally so fun. While I'm doing this, let me tell you about my ultimate goal. I would love to one day just have a homestead, make everything from scratch, grow everything myself, or most things, and have sheep and alpacas and goats and spin my own yarn and make my own clothes. I would like to have horses and cows, and I would like to live close to a local honky-tonk or bar, and I would like to be able to read a lot of books. If you guys would like to see that kind of thing from me in about 5 to 10 years, give or take, keep on watching. We'll get there eventually. Somehow, despite all of my yapping, I managed to finish the panel. So I am going to watch the news and get started on the second panel, and then once that is over, it's news hour, so it will only be an hour, then I'll be done for the night. Oh, and also, I forgot to tell you guys, I had to go get some more yarn. I just ran out of my third ball, so this is the fourth ball of yarn, and I bought 3 because Michael's was having a buy 2 get 1 free sale. This is what I have gotten done in an hour, although I will say there were many instances where I was not knitting because I was disturbed by the news, so I was just sitting here like this. A couple days later, and here are the finished panels. I am very, very pleased to announce that the only thing I have left to do is make the sleeves, and this is the pattern piece. It is probably going to take me a little bit, but definitely not as long as some of the other panels. So I am almost finished with this, which is amazing. I'm going to get started on that right now. I will probably be able to post this video next week. This has taken me a month. I apologize that it took so long, but I genuinely did spend most of my free time doing this. So I will be very happy to be done with it. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I definitely will enjoy having more free time back. That was the last one. Well, I've been working on the sleeve for a while now, and unfortunately, it is just not coming out at all the right size, and that really hasn't happened for any of the other panels. So what I am going to do is remeasure it. It might have been because I used another measuring tape, although I don't really know like how different they could be. Turns out it was not because of the measuring tape, it was because when I was doing like my triangle calculations, I switched like the order of I switched the order of the legs of the triangle. So that definitely caused it. But anyway, I'm going to redo the math and then do that again, and hopefully it'll be right this time. I have been watching historical documentaries while I have been doing this, and so at least I'm learning something. I'm really tired. My hands hurt so badly, but I finished the first sleeve with only minor differences, and I learned a lot about World War II. Well guys, I have some excellent and long-awaited news. I have finally finished, both of the sleeves. So it is now time to get everything out and see what we have and start sewing everything together. So here we have the front of the shirt, This is the side with the buttonholes. These are the front panels of the shirt. These are the side fronts. And then these are the front panels where the buttons will be. These are the sleeves, and this will be the back of the shirt. And looking at it all now, I see why it took so long. And now, for the time we've all been waiting for, it is time to start sewing our panels together. And I am going to start with the front panels. Let's get started. It's actually a really good thing I have extra yarn because I just finished playing Yarn Chicken with one of the sleeves, and so I wouldn't have had enough. Sewing is honestly my least favorite part of knitting, but we'll survive. It'll be okay. And like everything in this video, this took a lot longer than I was expecting. It took me like a day to finish everything all together. Also, I'm not really great at sewing, as you can see from the seams, but I did my best. I did my very best. Here are each of the panels sewn together. That's the back panel on the left, and then each of the front panels. This is where we're at for now. I sewed in one of the sleeves, and obviously we have quite a bit of ends to weave in. So I just got home from class, and I am about to start sewing in the second sleeve, and I'm in my room because I want to watch something on my TV. Today, we're learning about the Cold War. My dad will be so proud. He studied the Cold War for his PhD. The sleeves took me kind of a minute to figure out how exactly to sew them in, but I started just by tying them where the top of the panels meet. And then I sewed down either side separately, and then we're gonna have to sew the two tiny little pieces together, and then also to the bottom of the sleeves. And then once the sleeve was all sewn in, then I sewed the top two panels together, which were, honestly, the measurements were like a tiny bit off, but luckily you can't really tell because it falls like at the top of the shoulder. We now have something resembling a shirt, but I'm gonna wait until it's blocked to do the final reveal for you. But for now, we have very, very many ends to weave in, and I purposely left that till the last minute because I wanted to make sure that everything came out right, so I didn't have to find all the ends, unweave them, and then take everything apart. So now that everything looks okay, I have the task of weaving in all of these ends. This also took like a day. Here are all the ends. It doesn't even look like a lot, but trust me, it was. Here I am searching through a lot of buttons to find matching ones, only to realize that they're too big for the buttonholes, so I had to find new ones. But honestly, I'm really glad that I figured it out then and not after I sewed all the buttons on. I think I would have actually had a breakdown. But not to worry, because I had these other buttons that actually did end up fitting through the buttonholes, and they were very similar. I want you guys to guess what happened next. Yep. I am very pleased and relieved to announce that the shirt is completely done. The only thing left to do is block it. So I am going to do that now, and then we will have our final reveal. I ended up putting some towels between the front and the back just because of the seams. I didn't want it to cause the front panels to sit weirdly if they dried weirdly, so. The shirt is done blocking, so we're gonna try it on now. Are you guys ready for the final reveal? I have the shirt on. Now I think the shirt came out pretty good. I'm happy with it. I do kind of want to do some experimenting with embroidery or even possibly putting some beads on the shirt, but I don't know. Would that be something you guys were interested in, or do you think the shirt is just good the way it is? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you want to see that video, and I will start working on that. Well, I've learned it's not that hard to make a sewing pattern into a knitting pattern. It takes quite a bit longer than using a pattern. It also takes quite a long time if you use a very small yarn, which we already knew, but thank you guys for spending the last 5 weeks with me making this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.